Are now underway to about 65 homes. Police are going door to door telling people that it is time to leave their house. Injuries, no injuries reported so far. About 25 people who work at this recycling and waste plant evacuated easily without any problem. We do know from KFD that a malfunctioning piece of equipment within the recycling plant seems to have sparked this fire. That's the initial determination from fire investigators. They're saying some sort of machinery kind of backfired, shot out a flame, which hit a pile of paper, and the fire started from there. The perimeter of the fire, about an acre and a half at this point. It has been growing since firefighters arrived on scene, but they're doing their best to knock it out and knock it back. The timeline to put the fire out, we're talking days at this point when it's all said and done to get everything extinguished in this area. When you think about it, a whole acre and a half of fire that's burning, that's a tough one to put out. The good news, KUB was able to cut the electric and the gas at the recycling plant immediately so that there would be no additional trouble in that area. But about 700 homes in the area that had their power cut as well, they should be back online now. A lot of folks asking, what is a 2-alarm fire? We've been mentioning this is a 2-alarm fire. Essentially, that means they've got 6 engine companies on scene and 2 ladder trucks, 40 to 50 firefighters who are working out there at this moment. They're working to bring excavators and earth movers to the scene because they say that's really going to be how they get to the heart of the fire and knock it out quicker. So as you can see, this is a huge plume of black smoke that's billowing into the sky. It's grown so large. Heather Haley, our chief meteorologist, says she can actually see this now showing up on radar. The wind not helping the situation at all. We've seen 10 to 20 mile per hour wind gusts, which have been affecting not only the direction of the smoke, but also fueling the fire too. So you've got that kind of nasty smoke blowing in all different directions, irritating folks who may have breathing problems or are really sensitive with their eyes and respiratory system. So affecting those people, but then it's also affecting the firefighters who are trying to battle moving conditions out there and all the moving parts that come with this fire. Pete Michaels is flying from above, and he's been giving us a really unique perspective of this fire. Once you see his view from the sky, you'll be blown away. It really puts everything into perspective and gives us an idea of what fire crews are up against. Pete, can you kind of walk us through the unique angle that you're able to provide?
Yeah, it's an interesting afternoon for a lot of reasons. The angle I see, you look back at the fire in front of Sharps Ridge and it heads out to the east and the northeast. Now, get settled down to the fact there aren't not a lot of rubberneckers, but let me just go ahead and show you what we're looking at. The whole west side of the building is engulfed in flames, and as we run the video, you'll be able to see. We're trying to, from time to time, we can give you live shots, but it's so bumpy up here right now that actually normally they don't fly when it's this bumpy, but this is important to get it to you. This is a look. I'm flying westbound in this shot, and I am north of Sharps Ridge when I took this shot. So you see the smoke blowing from right to left. That's because I'm flying westbound, and we'll kind of stay with the shot as long as the producer wants. And it's hard for me to fly to the east because the smoke extends 2 or 3 miles, and I'd have to climb up, rather than being at say 1,000 feet, I'd have to climb up to 4,000 feet to get over the smoke. So if I'm going to try to come back around and shoot the video from the north side like I did here, I had to climb up and then of course then descend again at the north side of Sharps Ridge. So well, what we can see from the air, it's not the roads that are blocked are blocked. Mark talked about avoiding the area. Unfortunately, you're going to get a few looky-loos. The fire department trying to keep them away for their own good. Those that are traveling around 640, so far, not really slowing to take a look, which is good news. But we'll keep an eye on it. I haven't seen explosions from the air, but the wind hasn't helped at all, and the crew we've got on the ground to keep track of that. But this is the latest shot. All this videos sent in the last, recorded in the last 3 or 4 minutes to kind of give you a feel for what's going on. And if anything changes, I'll give you an update. But meanwhile, we'll check back, send it back to the studio. But one other shot, though, this is a wide angle to give you an idea of how far the smoke extends all the way back in that East Knoxville, East Knox County. All right, Pete Michaels from the sky. Live for WVLT, I'm Pete Michaels, Pilot's Pilot. Guys, we'll check back.
That may be one of the most telling images that we have seen so far. This is just coming into the newsroom. The Knoxville Police Department is issuing a mandatory evacuation for the areas of Morelia between Cornelia and Pershing. Buses are now at Cornelia and Morelia to transport folks away from the area. Again, KFD, according to the police department, has issued a mandatory evacuation for the areas of Morelia between Cornelia and Pershing. Buses, cat buses, remember we told you cat buses were headed to the scene. They are now in that area, ready to take neighbors away from the scene and to the Emerald Youth Foundation at 1718 North Central Street, where they will be met by Red Cross volunteers to assist them going forward. We also want to mention that the Knox County Health Department, is now issuing more information about the air quality. They're saying that anyone with heart or lung disease, anyone older than 65, children, and pregnant women are at the greatest risk. If you can see smoke, if you can smell smoke, it is in your best interest to leave the area. That's because this fire is burning hazardous chemicals, plastics, rubbers that releases toxins into the air that can irritate people's eyes or respiratory systems. So 2 important things to keep in mind. If you see or smell smoke, leave the area. You are at greatest risk if you're an elderly person, a child, or a pregnant woman, or someone suffering from heart or lung disease. And if you're in the area, you are now under a mandatory evacuation, and buses are now arriving on scene to take you to a shelter. Robert Grant joining us now from the scene, where he's been pushed back multiple times in an effort by fire crews to keep folks safe. Robert, what's the latest from the scene?
Yeah, and Amanda, you just mentioned Morelia. That is just about 2 blocks down. That is where we were originally, where those evacuations are now taking place, just 2 blocks down. So to give you an idea of how far we've been pushed back and still being pushed back as this is going on, I can tell you KUB just arrived on scene here where we are at Harvey and Burwell. They are here to turn off some of the electricity around here and also cut some of the gas lines. I'm going to take a step out of the shot so you can see the scene from where we are right now, just to kind of reiterate what you've been hearing. At least 65 homes were being evacuated before. We now know those evacuations have increased as KFD and KPD try to get people out of the area. That's nasty stuff to be breathing in here. The smell is real bad, and it's bad to get into your lungs. That is why they are moving a lot of these people sheltered again at the Emerald Foundation. KPD saying that if you do not have transportation to get over there, they will bring you themselves. They are going door to door right now trying to get people out of their homes as that smoke is moving in their directions. Right now, we just heard from KFD about 5-10 minutes ago. It's about 1 acre to 1.5 acres, that fire itself. The fire has not grown a whole lot, but the smoke is what is causing a lot of the problems right now. The real difficulty is that this is a big trash fire, essentially. So it's getting into the bottom of it, into the heart of where those flames are heating up from. That is why they're bringing in the heavy equipment right now, some of those excavators, to try to get in there to continue fighting this. But KFD says they expect to be here for several hours, if not days, fighting this. And as obviously you can see, several streets around here shut down. So for those of you coming home from work, or if you have friends in the area, it's hard for people to get around, even if you aren't under a mandatory evacuation. We were talking to a neighbor earlier who couldn't get to his home, not because of the evacuation, but because of so many streets shut down in this area. So it's really just in your best interest to try to stay away. But again, Emerald Youth Foundation, the shelter for people in this area who are under those mandatory evacuations. KUB continues to bring more crews on scene as they try to cut down the electricity and also shut down some of the gas lines in this area for the safety of some of the neighbors around here. And again, we do know early investigations at this time showing it was a big piece of equipment that backfired at the recycling plant behind us, and that is what sparked these flames. Again, right about 1 acre to 1.5 acres right now large. The flames aren't continuing to grow as much as just that smoke causing problems for some of the people around here, Amanda.
All right, Robert Grant reporting live from the scene as fire crews continue to fight this blaze. Again, let's make mention of the fact that mandatory evacuations are now underway. We did earlier report that KPD was going door to door telling about 65 different households that it was time to leave. We have since learned that the city has now brought buses to the scene. They'll be taking folks to Emerald Youth Foundation, which is on North Central Street, where a shelter has been set up and services will be provided by the Red Cross. Let's talk about air quality. That's something that's been affecting a lot of folks in the area, and most people in Knoxville are worried about it this hour. The health department issuing an alert saying that sensitivity is definitely possible, especially if you're in a few different categories. So the elderly, children, pregnant women, anyone with heart or lung disease are extremely susceptible to the different issues that can arise when you've got a lot of smoke in the area. So if you see smoke or you smell smoke, that is your sign to get out of the area as quickly as you can. We're going to touch base with Chief Meteorologist Heather Haley, who's standing by with a look at how weather conditions are affecting this firefight and definitely not helping us or fire crews on scene. Heather.
No, yeah, absolutely, Amanda. Unfortunately, wind has been one thing they've been talking a lot about today. We can jump right into our computer here. Let me show you. This is kind of that steady wind flow. That's why that plume of smoke has just been steadily moving along. You'll find some shifting there as literally in the upper atmosphere. Your winds can move a bit more. Literally, they can change direction from the ground and into the upper layers of the atmosphere. So you may see that shifting for those of you who are nearby and have a clear view of it. But speaking of that plume, let me show you what's been happening. Actually, I'm going to jump to a loop here of the radar and cloud track. So what I want to do is I'm going to slow this down for you. So we had a couple of little showers popping up in Anderson County earlier, a couple develop in Knox County, but then right about, no, that's still a little rain trying to develop, and at about 2:45, that's the plume of smoke that started showing up on the radar. So you can see where it was some showers that were trying to develop in the area. We still have a couple of pop-up showers right along the Smokies and the foothills, but really now that smoke is drying out that air. So that unfortunately does cut off the chance for rain in that particular spot. But of course, Knoxville Fire Department was pointing out that at this point, I mean, look at that. In comparison, I'll even zoom out here just a bit on the radar. So this is the perspective of that plume of smoke coming out of North Knoxville. Folks in Union County into Granger County, you could easily be seeing some of this smoke. This is cutting northeast across town. I know we've had a couple of messages from folks saying they are definitely seeing this in all parts of North Knox County, northeast Strawberry Plains. You could easily be seeing it. So this is perspective of that plume of smoke you're seeing on the right side of your screen from our drone, as well as the smoke showing up on the radar. So that's why I was saying it's literally drying out that air. It is filling the air with those contaminants, which is why the Knoxville Fire Department was actually saying they don't want it to rain. While, you know, even I thought, okay, rain would help put out a fire, right? No, they're saying it just would make the air quality that much worse. And of course, the Knox County, the health department has already issued that statement about the air quality in the area. So in that situation, just keep in mind that we definitely don't want that to get any worse. I did check with them to see if they have officially coded this. A code red is typically what we get from a fire like this. They haven't coded it yet. I'm sure they're monitoring the situation. But of course, we've got between the wind as well as that smoke plume showing up on radar, and in case this does get officially coded an air quality alert, that is a code red. Amanda, the description you were giving from the health department really fits this. Sensitive groups, as that includes anyone who is pregnant, of course, elderly, children would want to limit that time outside. And of course, they were saying too to kind of shelter inside, and then they were evacuating some of those areas, Amanda.
And it was interesting, Heather, because we were talking about, wouldn't it be nice if that rain shower that was a couple blocks away from this, wouldn't that be nice if it would just shift over? But now we're learning from the fire department, actually, no, that rain could actually be pretty detrimental in this situation because it would push those toxic chemicals in the smoke plume down closer to the air that we're breathing down here on ground level, right?
Which does make sense. I mean, and that would put those same particulates, there's the same chemicals and toxins into our water system. It would literally move it down into affecting a lot more folks. So that does make sense. I know a lot of you are seeing it. Is definitely some nasty smoke there that I know I definitely would not want to be breathing.
Yeah, absolutely not. Heather was talking about some of the folks who are most affected by deteriorating air quality. Children are on that list, which is kind of concerning because a lot of kids in this area have been dropped off by the school bus. And so Mark Packer joins us live from the scene. He's actually been out there with some of these kids who are sitting on the front lawn watching the fire burn. The best advice for everyone down there is if you can see or smell the smoke, then it's probably a good sign that you need to leave, especially if you're one of those folks who are most affected by poor air quality. So children, the elderly, pregnant women, or folks suffering from lung and heart disease. Mark, what's the latest there? It looks like the smoke is really getting close to the ground.